Look, if you want to be back in Meghan's life, how about you just stop going to the media?
So here's my question to you guys, because I'd love to know what you think. So when you have a parent, let's say it doesn't seem like they've had the best relationship.
It's a sight that no decent human being can witness without a pang of outrage. Meghan Markle shading crocodile tears. There he sat, Thomas Markle Sr., frail, weather-beaten, and utterly alone, slumped in the searing 33-degree Philippine heat, leaning heavily on his cane outside a rundown supermarket in Cebu. No security, no entourage, no luxury.
Because all the Meghan supporters are saying the media needs to stop giving the Markle family a platform. Well, the Markle family seems to be quite happy to keep on talking, so if the price is right...
SUV waiting at the curb because just an old man with a stroke, ravaged body, 2 heart attacks behind him, and a daughter who calls herself a global ambassador for compassion, yet hasn't lifted a finger to help. This isn't just neglect. This is betrayal. Once a celebrated Hollywood lighting director, Thomas Markle was the man behind the cameras that made others shine, including his daughter, Meghan, whom he raised, funded through private education, and supported through every phase of her early career.
You know, brothers, the agents ringing around offering him, and the sister is being offered, and the father's being offered. So they're working to their own agenda too. And certainly Thomas Markle is really disputing some of the stories that Meghan's been offering up about the child.
Today, the glitz is gone. All that remains is a pensioner struggling to survive in a 500 pounds a month flat in one of the most densely populated and poverty-stricken corners of Southeast Asia. His walking stick now substitutes the stability his daughter once promised him. The roads of Cebu, cracked and chaotic, match the fragments of a relationship shattered by cold ambition and celebrity arrogance as Meghan flows from red carpet to royal scandal.
Kind of lots of breakout stories too, the main one being, of course, she doesn't want to be Meghan Markle anymore, she's Meghan Sussex. So people have now...
Kinda her father rots in silence, thousands of miles away. Unseen and unacknowledged. Thomas Markle Jr., Meghan's half-brother. Put it bluntly, she has no soul that isn't tabloid drama.
Last time Meghan actually spent time around Thomas Jr. was when she was a toddler and they lived in the same home. And then she was then raised as an only child in California by her parents Doria and Thomas.
It's an emotional cry of frustration from a son watching his father waste away while his famous sister postures for the press. And frankly, how else can you describe it? Meghan preaches mental health, compassion, and healing, but her own flesh and blood has been discarded like a piece of outdated luggage. The truth is, for someone who weaponizes the narrative of emotional trauma so well, she appears alarmingly and different to the trauma her own silence is causing. Not to strangers, but to the man who paid her tuition and walked her down the aisle in spirit when her own wedding left him abandoned in a hospital. This is no family rift. It's moral bankruptcy. May 6th marked Archie Harrison's 6th birthday. Balloons, cake, and carefully staged Instagram smiles likely fill the day. But what was conspicuously missing was any acknowledgement of Archie's grandfather. No mention, no video call, no message, not even a card. Instead, on that very day, Thomas was seen hunched outside in Cebu's unforgiving humidity, relying on his son for support and hydration. It was a cruel mirror while one part of the family celebrated in Californian comfort, the other wilted under tropical decay. We're
going to move on to our GMA cover story. It's an explosive message from Meghan Markle's half-brother. He's writing an open letter urging Prince Harry to call off the royal wedding. Adrian Banks.
Half-brother says he has a warning for the prince. Her parents and siblings continue to be a huge part of this international love story.
How can Meghan speak of building a better world for her children while actively severing ties to the only grandfather they have left? That's not maternal protection. It's a calculated campaign of erasure. Thomas Markel's descent from Emmy-winning lighting director to invisible outcast in a foreign slum is nothing short of tragic. He helped build the infrastructure of the American television industry, and in return, his daughter has sentenced him to obscurity in a country where the weather alone poses a health hazard. This wasn't a man who failed his children. This was a man who gave everything and now even his legacy is being rewritten to fit Meghan's sanitized fairy tale. What's worse, there's no sign of remorse, no outreach, no medical support from home.
She was then raised as an only child in California by her parents Doria and Thomas, so their relationship has been estranged ever since then, and they've had no contact with each other, and it's only since her relationship with Harry started that he's shown interest in getting in contact to Meghan and Kensington Palace aides, asking for financial support.
Just the stony silence of a duchess who seems more interested in Spotify contracts than the man who gave her her start, as Meghan continues to polish her brand and push her narrative of victimhood. The real victim, the man who made her success possible, languishes in silence, and yet the world watches. And the question grows louder by the day. How long can Meghan Markle hide from the consequences of abandoning her own blood? As the images of Thomas Markle sitting alone under the blistering sun began circulating, the public response was immediate and disgusted. But from Meghan Markle, silence, not a word, not a gesture, not even the hollow PR platitude we've come to expect from her post-royal brand, and this from a woman who has built an empire out of carefully curated compassion. This isn't just familial estrangement, this is strategic detachment, a cold, calculated silence.
The half-brothers claims we should see Daddy and Mama at the wedding. It may be the imperfection in her family that has endeared us to this American lot to handle. I mean, planning a wedding, the fact that everybody's watching you, and now this, it's a handful.
Heart goes out to him. It is, Adrian. Thanks so much. You're going to be there.
Designed to erase an inconvenient figure from her public narrative. It's the ultimate betrayal of the man who is once her most loyal supporter. But to Meghan, it appears the optics of fatherly loyalty only matter when they serve her story. When they don't, they vanish. Just like Thomas, let's not downplay this. Cebu is no sanctuary for an ailing pensioner with temperatures soaring above 33 degrees Celsius and humidity levels nearing 90%. The island's tropical climate is punishing even for healthy men. For an 80-year-old stroke survivor with limited mobility.
Are you excited?
Yeah, of course. It's
Are you
a fairy
going to wear
tale.
a fascinator?
I'm going to have a little fascinator, a little tilt to the little attitude, a little tilt to the side.
Can I wear one?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm joking.
Come
I'm not
on
wearing
now.
a fascinator.
What'd you say if you wore a fascinator, it'd be what?
If I wore a fascinator, it would be fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a daily battle to survive. Locals report seeing Thomas visibly struggling to navigate the crumbling streets. Cane in hand, sweat clinging to his body. No nurse, no private aid, no cooling system to offset the unrelenting heat. Just him and his son relying on each other to survive in a flat that costs less per month than Meghan spends on a single skincare treatment. Meghan once said she wanted to use her voice for the voiceless. Well, yeah.
And I think this is his place where he's feeling like he's doing the right thing. I think that's how bad this is.
If I don't obviously know every in and out of their relationship, but if it were me, I would try to bring my loved one in the family. I'm not saying accept them 100%, but I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know what happened, but I feel like he should be in the family. And if he doesn't want to play by my rules.
Her. Father is literally wheezing in silence on the other side of the world. What more voiceless tragedy could there be than the abandonment of your own parent to suffer in a slum? Meghan loves to speak about healing, about rebuilding relationships, about standing up for the vulnerable, but let's be honest, it's performative at best. When the cameras are rolling, she's saint, Meghan patron of the oppressed. But behind the scenes, even basic human decency is tossed aside when it no longer suits her agenda. This is the same woman who sobbed on national television over her own emotional suffering, but refuses to even acknowledge the physical and emotional decay of the man who gave her everything.
Family member, like, should she, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure her mom is probably not wanting for anything right now at this point. She was a former yoga instructor. And so, like, is she responsible to take care of her father?
Meghan once told Oprah that her family didn't protect her. But who's protecting Thomas now if her brand is built on compassion? Then this is brand fraud. Plain and simple. Let's not rewrite history. Thomas Markle made Meghan Markle. He funded her acting lessons, paid for her education, and pulled strings to help her get her first editions. When Hollywood turned its back, he stood firm. When she made it to Suits, he proudly supported her. When she married into the most famous family on earth, he tried, despite serious health issues, to walk her down the aisle, and now he's discarded, not just emotionally, but geographically, shoved 7,000 miles away into obscurity, like a character in her Hollywood script who no longer fits the narrative arc. He was useful once. Now, like so many others in Meghan's orbit, he's been edited out. This isn't just ungrateful, it's inhumane. Thomas Markel's suffering is more than a sad family story. It's a brutal indictment of the Duchess's values, her hypocrisy, and her willingness to sever blood ties for the sake of personal PR. As we move into the final part of this exposé, we'll ask the burning question: what happens when the world finally stops buying the Markle myth and sees the cruelty hiding behind the curated smile? When it comes to Meghan Markle, one thing becomes increasingly clear. Family is conditional. It's not a bond, it's a brand tool. It's only acknowledged when it's useful, whether that's appearing in glossy black and white photos, invoking her children's names during interviews, or leveraging royal connections for commercial gain. Thomas Markle. Once the proud father of a rising actress is now an inconvenient relic, his medical emergencies ignored his suffering, airbrushed out of the narrative. His existence publicly denied unless it can be spun into victimhood. For Meghan, how is it that the woman who insists she was abandoned by the royal family has no issue doing the same to her own father? If service is universal as she and Harry claim, then why does that service stop at her own bloodline? Let's be honest, Meghan doesn't want family. She wants followers. And Thomas isn't willing to play along while her ailing father sits in a sweltering 500 pounds a month flat in the Philippines. Abandoned and half-forgotten Meghan Markle prance across red carpets and private jets in designer gowns, worth more than the average household's yearly income. The woman who once claimed to champion compassion, equality, and family has become the very embodiment of opulence without gratitude. A duchess who, in her desperate climb to the top, discarded the very man who sacrificed everything to get her there: lavish, living, empty principles. Meghan's lifestyle is no longer one of aspiration. It's become grotesque excess. From 10,000-pound Dior coats to $100,000 baby showers funded by celebrity elites to designer outfits for casual podcast photo shoots. Her spending knows no bounds. She reportedly dropped tens of thousands on aromatherapy rooms, private security, and luxury renovations for her Montecito mansion, all while claiming victimhood and struggling for privacy. Let's not forget the custom kitchen appliances, imported home decor, and her now defunct Spotify podcast archetypes, which netted her and Harry millions only to crash and burn after just 12 episodes. All while the man who helped pay her way through private school acting classes and early career moves can barely afford air conditioning in the tropical heat of Cebu lies and performative activism on podcasts. In her podcast appearances, Meghan portrayed herself as a self-made survivor, artfully omitting the man who paid her tuition, drove her to school, and encouraged her at every milestone. She spun tales of hardship, neglect, and struggle that, while emotionally charged, bore little resemblance to the supportive reality. Her father recalls Thomas Markle was never perfect, but he was present, generous, and proud. Yet Meghan Airy brushed him from her narrative as soon as he no longer fit her Hollywood royal hybrid brand. A father's love repaid with silence. It's one thing to grow apart from a parent. It is another to abandon them entirely while posing as a humanitarian. Meghan didn't just forget her father, she erased him. On Archie's 6th birthday, Thomas Markle sat alone outside a Cebu supermarket while his daughter celebrated in luxury with her elite circle. Thousands of miles away. No phone call, no visit, no acknowledgement. This is not estrangement, it's cruelty. In couture, Meghan Markle built her empire on glossy words, love, family, resilience, but the truth lies in what she refuses to say, and more importantly, who she refuses to see. While she lectures the world on kindness, her own father battles age, illness, and neglect in obscurity. The contrast isn't just tragic, it's damning because in the end, all the glamour, gold, and podcast deals in the world can't buy the one thing: she's lost credibility and perhaps a conscience.